You're watching Byline Wilmington on CBS 10 WILM. Here's your host, Don Ansell.
Greg Taylor was in prison for 17 years for a murder he didn't commit. Chris Muma is an attorney with the North Carolina Center on Actual Innocence, and they were instrumental in proving his innocence, which was, you set a precedent in this entire country, I believe.
That's correct. Greg's is the first case where he was actually found innocent by a judge. That is a non-DNA case.
Although DNA played a part in...
It played a part, but it was not the conclusive evidence in the case. And really, the three judges, there were three judges that found him innocent, which is just really groundbreaking.
And then a state pardon.
And then a state pardon.
The governor pardoned him as innocent.
That's correct. The Innocence Inquiry Commission is the agency or the process that found him innocent.
Who set up the three judges. It was a three-judge panel after the jury trial that eventually found him
and North Carolina is the first state in the country to have a process like this.
How many cases? Well, first tell us a little about the North Carolina Center on Actual Innocence.
We began in 2000. We're a nonprofit in Durham. Our website is nccai.org. We work with law students. We have 7 law schools in North Carolina, so the law students, those 7 law schools, each law school has an innocence project, and they are our primary resources.
So they do research, and they work on the cases and help
review the court documents, review the transcripts, conduct interviews, help with investigation.
I won't say but most people in prison for life sentences, for whatever, claim innocence. How does the center decide what cases they're going to take?
We get about, right now we're about 800 claims a year, and we run about a 95% rejection rate.
That you look at and reject?
We screen them out.
For one reason or another?
That's correct. So we can't go back and revisit the jury verdict. And if everything was presented at the time of trial, you can't go back in court and just say they got it wrong. You have to have something else you can present to say why they got it wrong, because they didn't hear a piece of evidence.
And in Greg's case, they heard no evidence, from what I understand.
The 4 components that were presented were a jailhouse snitch, a prostitute who said she had seen them with the victim, a dog who had tracked to the truck, and what they said was blood evidence on his truck. What we did in front of the three judges was disprove all of that evidence.
How was the agency supported, by the way?
We're primarily foundations, Z. Smith Reynolds, Park Foundation, the North Carolina Bar supports us.
Did you help found the organization?
I came on very early in the process. Okay. There were 3 primary founders who organized everything. Rich Rose and Teresa Newman, Jim Coleman were the primary founders.
What drew you to do this, rather than private practice or whatever?
Actually, I clerked at the North Carolina Supreme Court for I. Beverly Lake, who was Chief Justice, for 3 years. And while I was clerking, I ran across a couple cases where I had concerns about whether the question of guilt or innocence had been answered correctly.
So Greg applies to the North Carolina Center, and did you look at his case? Was it you?
I looked at his case, really focused on his case in 2005 after I got the summary from his father. And then I teach a class at UNC Law School, a wrongful convictions class, and Greg's case was one of my case studies as part of that class. So we had a group of students who were helping to investigate it.
So when did you find out that the center was going to take your case?
Shortly after Ms. Muma got my summary, I got a copy of an email that was sent to my father, and that was when I found out.
And
that was like the start of my hope.
Life changed in that instant for you?
Yeah, it was still slow, but it was a whole lot. It was different than before I got that email.
You had hope?
Yes, sir.
Before that, it was like that was your last
everything just seemed so futile before that. But I really felt strongly that since this organization believed in me, that somehow, some way, there would, in the end, the truth would prevail.
There's a strong indicator of fate in Greg's case.
A strong indicator of
fate, some power.
Things in the universe come together.
Together. Greg talks about the things that had to happen. Talk about that, Greg, about what had to happen in your case.
Well, when I first went to prison, I wanted the world to know that I was innocent, but I didn't realize, first of all, that there was no avenue in the courts to show innocence. So I had to not only wait on the courts, but I also had to wait on the development of the internet so the world could know. Had to wait on people to get out of prison and laws to be changed, and had to wait on Ms. Moomer to get out of law school. So there was some waiting involved, but in the end, the world knows I'm innocent. I did an interview with a Japanese newspaper.
Really?
Yes, sir.
I can feel the intense emotion that you feel in this journey you've been on.
Yes, sir.
Where were you when the judge panel verdict was announced?
The three-judge panel, sitting at the defense table,
Oh,
about to have a heart attack.
Did you think it was a slam dunk? Or?
No. No, that's the thing Greg talks about, the DNA cases, you know before you go in there what the outcome is going to be. But this was like having a retrial, and they had to go through and summarize the law and then give us the vote for each judge, and it was very, very tense in the moments before that time.
So what was your reaction? What did you? Wow.
A complete release, you know, I mean, the frustration and confusion all those years, just all at once left. And, you know, it's nothing that could be scripted. It was nothing that I could have thought about. This is what I'm going to do when they make the ruling. You know, either way, I just, you know, it's just raw release of a lot of pent up emotions over the years.
And as fast as your life changed when they arrested you, is this how it changed?
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
So that was, the judge said, the panel was unanimous, and you're a free man?
Yes, sir.
Right there?
Right there.
And who was there with you?
Ms. Moomer was there, and my other two attorneys, Mike Clinkerson and Joe Cheshire. And I had a whole network, family, friends, and supporters from the background. Was
it a Frank Capra cheer from the crowd?
Well, the footage of the ruling by the judges and the raw emotion in the room between the family members and the attorneys, there was so much pent up hope in that process that you can feel it being released when you watch the footage of the ruling by the judges.
I can't imagine how I can't imagine how Greg felt, but I also can barely scratch the surface of how you must have felt having that kind of an impact and freeing a life.
It has consumed so much of my life, and when I look at that footage, I think, well, I could have handled that a little more professionally, but it really wasn't possible at that moment in time.
We'll come back with more. There's still some twists and turns in this. Stay with us.